Well, Doug, we are back, but this time people can see us, and we
almost
are
live.
Almost live. Missed being live by a day because this will go up tonight. So we welcome everybody on the YouTube side of things who will be seeing this podcast for the first time. Or I guess everyone will be seeing it for the first time, but it'll be exposed, or they'll be exposed to this. So welcome back, Doug, for having missed last RT talk. You're back the reins are back in your hand. You're here again.
I'm here, and we're here to do a full-blown spoiler talk on WandaVision. I watched the whole thing in 2 days, so if you don't want that, don't watch this video. Yeah,
I will say, I guess we'll probably just do what we normally do when we get into details like that, which we'll save it for the end. So that way, if you haven't seen WandaVision, or maybe you haven't had a chance to watch the last episode, we're not going to ruin anything like outright, and you have to scrub through. So we'll save that for the very end, and that way, if you haven't watched it, then you could just stop listening and know you've missed nothing but that talk, right. And then can come back later on to hear us talk about it. So
never come back.
Yeah, or just never come back. It's up to you, really. It's if seeing our faces was enough to turn you away from this podcast, I understand. But yeah. So up until we get to that point, we just have our general discussions that we usually have. And this week I didn't prepare anything, but I don't feel as lost as I did last week, where I was like, the week flew by and I had nothing to rely on. But I don't know. How was your week, Doug? How have you been?
It was good. I got to go home and visit my dad for his birthday. We went to that I tell you about the hot dog place over in Ohio?
I don't think so. I'm interested, but I don't think so.
It's like the hot dogs I built. The one had like a New England bun, a bacon wrapped hot dog.
Wait a minute. This is a build your own hot dog place?
Yes.
I'm going to need a lot of information and very quickly.
So we took my dad there because my dad, my dad, he can't really open his mouth like the whole way because of his, he had surgery and everything.
And that bat fight he was in.
Huh?
From that bat fight he was in.
Yeah.
Because he face smashed.
Yeah.
He was a bad guy in Streets of Rage. Got clubbed down.
Watching my dad try to when my dad comes down to Pittsburgh, I like to take him to dinners and stuff because he wants to try those new places. But like the grilled cheese place, which I've taken you to, we've gone to a couple times. Like it takes a normal person probably 20 minutes to eat this sandwich. It takes him like 45 minutes to an hour because he has to cut it, jam it in his mouth, and chew it.
Oh, they're significant. I mean, I know you're just casually saying the grilled cheese place. To maybe an average viewer who doesn't have a specialty grilled cheese restaurant around or near them, they're large. I mean, it's like a Tupperware container. Like they're thick.
They are delicious.
They are good until you get kicked out for ordering too much, which has happened.
I think we overstayed our welcome, and the waiter might have been leaving, and they were like, "Let's cash these people out because they're just drinking at this point."
Yeah, where they make a ton of money. How dare they? Anyway, we've aired our grievances before.
The hot dog place, which we can go to sometime. I'm glad to go there because it's incredible.
Let's go after this.
It's a far drive.
I'm fine with that.
We took my dad there, and he seemed to enjoy it, and I don't want to talk bad about my dad, but he's a terrible tipper.
Okay, well, I don't want to talk bad about my dad, but here's this thing that people universally pretty much don't appreciate.
And I left my tip. He goes, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Listen," "You're horrible, and I know you're horrible at tipping. So this is not on you. This is on me." He's like, "You're crazy." And I was like, "No." I was like, this girl did everything. I thought it was adequate service. It was good service. I was like, I'm happy with it. She needs the money. We're out eating when we shouldn't be. Let's give her some money.
Well, so what did he give? Like $1.25 and a handful of old peppermint candies? No,
I wouldn't let him.
He didn't leave it. He didn't try it at all.
He tried, and I said no. I was like, "Because you're terrible."
Oh, so you preemptively shut down his terrible decision.
So I was like, "Hey, no, it's cool. I'll take care of it." And he's like, "What? That's too much." And I was like, "No, fuck you, Dad. It's fine."
So how much give, because I don't know, but give everyone an estimate. Say you go as a family or maybe a couple people, and the bill's like $40 or something, how much of a tip would he leave, if you had to guess?
It should 20%'s $8. He'd probably leave like $5 or $6.
Okay, so not awful. I definitely have people that are way worse than that.
Well, it pisses me off because I've never been a waiter or waitress because I've never wanted to do that. But I know that they are very, very underappreciated.
Well, yeah.
Most times.
Well, because when you said he's a terrible tipper, I thought you were going to say he would leave like $2 or like
no,
he would actually just write something on there saying like, here's how you could have improved and earned my money. Like, that's what I think when I think of a terrible tipper.
No, he's probably not as awful as I'm making him out to be, but I just get angry when I see people under tip. Or at least, I think you got to hit 20% at least. You just got to hit. These people are making $2 an hour, maybe. So it's like, here's something for you.
Is that real though? I know that was definitely the case, but I don't know. Is that still the case where if you're a waiter, you make below like minimum wage, and then your tips are supposed to fill in the rest of your wage?
As far as I know, I don't know why it would change. I mean, we could be wrong. I don't know.
It's just one of those things that people have always said, but I don't know if that's ever, like, I don't know if I've ever heard. I'm trying to think of who I know who was like a waiter who was ever talked about it. I don't know. It's just like, I just don't know if that's one of those things that people say all the time that actually has never been true, or if maybe it is something that's just still left over. Because I mean, it really is kind of stupid if that is the case, to still have people be waiters, but they have to make all their money, or essentially all their money in tips. I mean, right. The tips don't come out of the restaurant's pocket anyway. So if the people are leaving a tip for their server, just let them have the extra money.
Right, and I think it also trickles down. You have like the waiters and like the bus boys, and then
because there is places that like pull it together.
Right, and it doesn't matter. I want everyone to be as wealthy as they can be.
Oh, I've tried to be as wealthy as I can be. You just leave a gold nugget behind.
Not that I'm rich, but I leave only gold teeth behind.
Just your own. Just old surgeries you've had. Just tearing it out. This is very personal to me.
All my gold kidney stones.
Just, you can sift through it. There's treasure in there, I promise.
Gold.
There's gold in Emil's. Wearing that red, like, long underwear, like, jumpsuit thing.
I have one of those, I think. I used to, anyway.
But you should probably wear it. You probably need a wider angle shot of you, so it's a full body shot, and you should wear it for the next video podcast. But, I've tried to be, like, more, I guess, generous with tips in the times, like, since everything started, since I never stopped working. I mean, this is not like some kind of humble brag where I'm like, I just left like $100 tip for our delivery driver or whatever it is. But it's just like the times where we've had food delivered, I always I've been picking, like, because they have like the preset ones.
Which is awesome.
I was like,
idiot proof.
Yeah. I was like, just do that. Whatever the maximum of theirs is, or like when I've gone to get my hair cut and stuff. And that's how Renee and I have been lying to ourselves too, because, since we've started eating better and we have the weekends are like our free time, we have just spent an obscene amount of money on food. We found a restaurant that's close by that's been here for a long time that we never had before, and we love it's so good, and we have got it so much. So now we just, instead of like feeling ashamed that we've done this to our bodies and that we're like affecting our diet in this way and like how much money we spent, we just spin it. And we just say we're supporting local businesses during a very tough time. So
that's what it takes. That's what it takes. You gotta support the restaurant you don't want to see go under, especially because that's probably the only place that delivers to you.
No, there's a few, because there was. It's funny because, like, and I say like we've been doing bad with our diet. We're still we haven't gained anything back. It's just we basically leveled off, and now we're just like we're not maintained, like that's not our goal, but that's just like kind of what we've been doing. So like this week I'm going back into like back on track more or less. Cause there was a couple times, like I think it was either last week or the week before, that like Renee had a pretty tough week, like a couple days. Mm-hmm. And so she was like, I just want to get bad food. And I was like, we'll break it for that. Like, it's not just like it's not like tonight where it's just like, oh, we should just get the pizza again. It was like, it's a sad time. Let's just do something that'll make her happy, just to try to like help in like whatever small way that would. So then I get like hot pepper cheese balls and we get a fucking sweet ass pizza. But what happened was there's a different place. I don't know, maybe they caught wind of how much money we were spending at the other place. We got a flyer in the mail for a place that is like 2 buildings down from the place we've been ordering from. That's kind of the same. It's like a pizza place, but they have like sandwiches and all sorts of stuff. And I was like, they sent us like the menu and it has like their big like pictures and stuff. And I was like, I kind of want to order this tonight. And it was just the middle of the week when we shouldn't have been doing it. And we got it, but it does not compare. It's not the same as the place we've been going to.
You can write them back. Like, graffiti their flyer. Do better. Give notes.
We gave, just like I assumed your dad would for his tip, it's like, we gave a couple different things a shot, but I was like we just got their, like when we got the first place, I was like, I just want to get like a standard, just a pepperoni pizza, like just, I don't want to get like anything specialty. I want to see how well they do just something very simple. Right. And I got it. I was like, this is actually really good. So I did that. We did the same thing for the other place. And I was like, this is actually very standard. Like it's not bad. It's just passable. Like You're not going to fail, but it's not great. And we got a few other things. And I was like, we're going back to the place. We can't stand with this quality anymore.
I had, yesterday, because yesterday was the first nice day here in Western PA. It was, today's 66.
It's like 60 something, yeah.
Yesterday was probably 63, so my initial reaction was, I want to ride my actual bicycle. And my friend hit me up. He's going to go ride. I said, yep. And my bike was in pieces because I was kind of like, we're just working on things while it was cold out. Never finished what I was doing.
Just from what you smashed to that lady.
No, this is my new bike that I was moving parts from my old bike to, because I have good part, whatever. And eventually, I couldn't get the back wheel on properly, and I was getting so fucking pissed off. And then I tore things apart, put the back wheel, and put it all back together, and it worked. By that time, it was an hour later. I was pissed off. I was super sweaty. I came up my living room, ate a whole box of Girl Scout cookies, and watched. And I watched some TV. I watched Strange Wilderness.
What a descent into madness.
I was so angry. My friends texted me. He's like, yo, you ready to go? I was like, nah, man. 20 minutes, maybe. Then he's like, hey, man, you cool? I was like, go the fuck without me. I'm too angry. I don't want to see anything. I hate it. I'm done.
I would have loved to see you, like, rage pedaling, though. As you're just screaming straight forward, pedaling as hard as you possibly can. Just to get, like, all that frustration out from trying to put it together.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad it's back. It's together. I didn't go riding today because I didn't have time. I told Mike already, because I think I talked about it last week, how excited I am for the new Nintendo games. So got inspired, bought Mario Tennis, played a little bit of that today, rode the Peloton. Now I'm here, and I'm ready to play more Mario Tennis.
So you're here, you're trim from the Peloton, ready to work on your backhand.
Because I work out and then I eat. And I eat everything.
An entire box of Girl Scout cookies, apparently.
Well, I got my Girl Scout cookies on Friday. And what was yesterday? Monday?
Yeah.
All 4 boxes were gone.
My God. You're like us. Just putting the dents into yourself.
I was like, I got a toffee box, which is like a newer one, maybe a couple years old. It's great. I love toffee. Do-si-dos, classic peanut butter sandwich cookie. Samoa's #1 cookie in my opinion, and then the s'mores ones.
I don't know if I've had the s'more ones.
The s'mores ones are kind of newer, like the toffee ones. But I learned, and I was not aware of this, that there is 2 bakeries for Girl Scout cookies. There's like ABC Bakery, and then there's like Little Brownie Girls Bakery. Apparently, ABC is the good one, and Little Brownie Girls is shit, and that's the one we always get. So
what you mean? There's like a higher tier that you can
it's
get?
the same cookies, a different bakery.
That's what I mean. Like there's like a god tier that you can access to get better versions.
I was unaware of. My friend's wife was like, "Oh, what tier? What'd you get?" I was like, "Girl Scout cookies." She's like, "Did you get Little Brownie Bakery?" I forget what it's actually called. It's something like that. I was like, "Yeah." She's like, she's like, "Those are garbage. You need ABC." I was like, "How do I even tell? I didn't know there was a difference. What the fuck are you talking about?"
I was going to say something that I feel like is going to be controversial, and I think Girl Scout cookies are kind of overrated a little bit.
They're a little overrated,
but only based on 2 like parameters: price and the amount.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the worst deal every spring.
Yeah, they're really expensive, and you get like a pretty small package for that. And it's like they're good, but they're not like life-changing good. It's like, and especially for some of them, it's like there's probably other cookies you could get that are probably just as good or if not better. It's like I'd rather spend like $3 and get like an entire laundry basket of Chips Ahoy, and then that'll be my like what I'll eat. I was like, even though it's like maybe I would enjoy Thin Mints more in this moment, but it's like I'll destroy Thin Mints in no time at all, and I'll spend like $15 or whatever they are.
It's like $5 a box.
My God, it's quite a bit.
And it's not, yeah. I mean, like, I think the only reason I usually get Girl Scout cookies because I know someone who's a Girl Scout, and I'm like, well, I'll help you get your numbers up, and I'll also line my waist.
I always hated whenever I worked at Lowe's, because they would always set up their table outside of the exit.
Oh yeah.
And going every single time I would go out for my lunch and leave for the day. I'd have to like turn down these little like 5-year-old girls multiple times a day, multiple times a week, because they'd be out there for weeks on end. And at a certain point, you just lose all feeling inside of yourself. But at the very beginning of the season, it's just like, no, thank you. And you're like, just no, or you just try to act like you're on the phone or something. Like, just try not to let them down.
I pictured it was you locking eyes, and then one little girl locking eyes with you, and then goes, no.
So all the music kicks in.
You're
she
just
charges
sweating.
me. No, it was always a yearly thing that I always had to shut them down. Same thing when every once in a while the Boy Scouts would like do the popcorn or something. But I mean, what else did Girl Scouts do other than sell those cookies?
Go on trips.
Do they?
Go to camp.
I just never hear of anyone talk about like Girl Scout stories other than like if I hear the term Girl Scout, it's always cookies is the next word out of their mouth. So it's like I never hear of anything Girl Scouts do. I mean, not that, to be fair, I don't hear much about the Boy Scouts either, but they're not as prevalent in my life.
Well, I really don't want a tin of popcorn, to be honest. They could sell a better snack.
Yeah, popcorn it's pretty low level. I mean,
they could sell Boy Scout cereal, and I'd be more jazzed about that.
I'd be interested. Like fried chicken. Go really off the grid.
Like waffle crisp, but with like imitation chicken bits, I'd be into that.
Or, you know what? Let's rewind a little bit. Build your own hot dogs, and I'm fucking there. I never would have turned them down outside of the work.
I mean, if they had Boy Scout, like a Boy Scout hot dog kit with their own like chili, and they was, you gotta get the chili right, or I'm gonna be fucking pissed. But
oh yeah, I think you could say that for anything they sell. So if they sell shoes, the shoes better be of high quality.
I would expect Boy Scout shoes to be sewn by the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, it'd probably be some real gray areas of legality, but it'd probably challenge some labor laws, I'd imagine. But yeah, that's the only thing I ever hear about is like the cookies and stuff. I guess I actually don't think I even know of anyone who was a Girl Scout.
My little sister's a Girl Scout.
Is she?
Yeah, she's
throwing a sash and sell cookies?
No, she just stays in Girl Scouts because before COVID, they were taking trips. Like, they were going to, like, New York City. She did that. And they were supposed to go somewhere else this year, like, bigger than New York City. She's like, I really don't care to do anything else. I just want to go on these pretty much for her, it's like a travel club. Oh,
I think I actually remember you talking about, because you said you went to your mom's house and she had, like boxes of the cookies in, like, the living room or something. I mean, it was years ago when you said that. But I feel like, I do remember you saying that now. She was just like a dealer. She was like a mule, just moving product.
Apparently, everybody who I know whose kid sells Girl Scout cookies, they buy extra boxes to sell. Like, they'll buy extra just to sell on the side.
Oh, so like what people did with like the PlayStations and Xboxes, they would buy it and then they would try to make some money on the side, I guess.
But they, like, my friend's wife, she doesn't charge me extra. But she was like, yeah, you want some more? Yeah, $5 a box. I was like, you're not making money, though. I mean, if you charge me $6, at least you make $1 a box. I was like, well, I'm glad you're not, but.
Yeah, why aren't you scalping me harder? What the hell's wrong with you? Where's the markup? It's terrible business. You're selling it at cost?
Well, I mean, cost is probably like 89 cents a box.
Well, I meant for her. Her cost is $5
right.
If she bought it.
Or she has a discount I'm not aware of, and she's not telling me.
That's true. Maybe she bought it. Maybe she did buy it at cost. And she's like, yeah, just for like $5. And you're like, deal. Like, you're selling at regular price. And she's like,
stupid.
She's doing like one of these, whatever this is called. Dumb
Mr.
fucker.
Burns.
Yeah. Stupid fat fuck. I hope he breaks his bike later and he'll rage eat all of these. It's open.
Dude, I don't get mad at like little things like that very often, but I was fired up yesterday.
Probably didn't help that you had a place to be, and there's that like impatience of like, I need this to work because I need to go.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what. Strange Wilderness held up.
It's one where they shoot Bigfoot, right?
Yeah. He's they just fucking light him up.
We just referenced that movie on Sunday, actually. Weirdly enough, I've only seen it like once, but that ending Bigfoot part about 85 times. But yeah, we referenced that movie on Sunday. Well, yeah. I mean, I really didn't like watch or do anything this week that was necessarily like noteworthy. Like I know like there was a couple games I was playing it, but everything I was playing was pretty much what I usually play. And then obviously watching WandaVision, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, but I don't know. I had like such a mellow week this week where I haven't done anything.
There's nothing wrong with that. I feel like you were busy there for a while, so.
I mean, well, the next coming weeks, there's a lot going. There's like a wedding. It's next weekend, or well, like not this weekend coming up, but the next one.
Yeah.
After that, we just do stuff for our wedding. I think after that, it's almost my mom's birthday, so I don't know if we're gonna do anything that weekend. I also have to like get my car looked at because it's just turning off. It's like I have like such a dumb little things I have to take care of.
It's just turning. That's weird. It's just turning off.
Yeah, it's just like if I apply light pressure to my gas pedal, and it doesn't do it every single time, but if I apply light pressure as the RPMs are going up, once it hits about like 2,200 RPMs, it'll just drop out. And if I continue holding it at that like pressure, the car doesn't shut off completely. The electronics and everything stay on, but the engine shuts off. So it's basically like I just turn the key to turn the electronics on, like when you first get in. And then, if I give it more gas, it'll kind of like fight through it, and then it runs normal. So there's just something about like that lower RPM that
happens every time.
No, it doesn't have. That's why I say like it's hard to like try to nail down exactly what it is because sometimes it'll do it. Like today, it did it. I think it did it pretty much all day today, but yesterday it did it in the morning, but not whenever I came home. So it's like I don't know. It's all pretty random for when it happens. But
I thought I was winding up a sneeze.
It looked like it. You were just showing your tongue to everybody.
Trying not to. So, thinking of cars, my little sister got her permit.
Is that weird?
It was weird because I was her age when she was born.
I was gonna say because like you have two little sisters and a little brother, so it's like you have several younger siblings, but the one closest to you, she's only what, a year younger, 2 years younger than us?
A year younger. I mean, like, we're probably on the verge of like being the Irish twins. Like, it's not. There's a very small gap.
Yeah. So So like it's much less weird when your 1 year younger sibling gets like does adult things. So are you freaked out now?
I told her I was very proud of her that she did it, and like she went through with it. I mean, not that it's a huge accomplishment. I mean, it is. It's a big milestone in a person's life to get your driver's license. And she's a lot of anxiety, so she was really, I think she's really worried about it. But like, I was like, we're gonna do this. But I did learn, I can't take her, not being a parent or legal guardian. Because I took her the first time, walked in with her. I had all of her paperwork. I was like, oh, here you go. Here's the check. Like, I hear her fill this form out. And I was just filling it out there. And it's like, are you the parent or legal guardian or something else? And I was like, no, I'm not any of this.
That's, I mean, I guess not weird, but yeah, I guess they would want to stop like just someone who's older that from kind of like moving the process along. And I guess they would expect parents to be more honest about it because they'd be more careful with them or something.
And then, so we left that day. I printed that form out, took it to my mom, and I was like, hey, fill this out. I'll take my sister to the driver's center again with everything filled out. went there again. They're like, no, your mom has to sign this in front of us. We need your mom to be present.
Why is your mom just not going?
Well, my mom was working, so I was trying to help out.
Oh.
So that day, my mom got off work and then took my sister, and she passed her test. But the Friday, I think it was Friday. The Friday they told us no. I can't take her. It was like 9-10 o'clock at night, and I looked at my sister. We were at Dollar General, like half a mile from my mom's house. I was like, "You want to drive home?" She's like, "Can I?" I was like, "If you're comfortable, I'll let you do it." And I thought, like, she's driven like golf carts before, maybe a 4-wheeler. So like I was like, okay, like just get in the car, adjust the seat, make sure you can see everything. And she
I did just sink in that you said permit, so she actually hasn't driven at all yet.
No.
I was thinking license this whole time, and I was like, well, yeah, why couldn't she just drive? Like, it's not a big deal. It like just hit my brain that you said permit, not license. What that means.
But it's natural for us to just hit the brake, hold in the brake, and shift. She was just holding the brake, and she couldn't get the shifter to move. I was like, you need to push that button in and pull it back. And then we were
just. Oh my god, your whole desk moved.
We were doing that because when you first start driving, like you don't know how hard to hit the brakes. So you're just fucking.
Wait, where did you say this was that she was doing this?
The Dollar General, like half a mile from my mom's house. So like we had to pull out of Dollar General. There's a stop sign, turn left, and then my mom's house was like 5 houses down.
Okay, so at least she started in a parking lot and not just.
Yeah, and she was like, she's like, "Can you back the car up?" I said, "This bitch got a backup cam. Just do it."
Yeah, you got made. I learned to drive in a van that barely like had any clearance behind it. I couldn't see anything behind me.
Yeah.
All I had was a Lord on my side to look behind me.
And the one thing she did at both times I let her drive, once illegally, is that around bends she just wasn't hitting the brakes. So we're just taking these bends. I'm like, well, brake.
Just drifting.
Like pulling into my mom's house. She just went into the yard and then into the driveway. I was like, you didn't hit the house. I was like, so I don't care.
So, yeah, I mean, there are positives to what happened.
And
one
then
of them
the
being that
next
you didn't kill
night,
everybody.
We were coming back the opposite way, and she wasn't turning fast enough for hitting the brakes, and she almost crushed the mailbox. I was like, at least you stopped. I was like, but why aren't you turning the wheel?
Just too afraid. I feel like I did a lot of parking lot driving way before I took it on the road anywhere.
Yeah, and I tried to offer that to her, but she was like, no. She's like, I don't. I said, like, I think we learned to drive at, like, the high school.
Yeah, there, and there was like a plaza not that far that had a lot of like empty stores in it. So there was like large swaths of the parking lot that were just wide open with no cars. So like the only way I could have crashed is if I just floored it and then lost all confidence in myself.
Right.
So yeah, I just remember doing a lot of like pulling into spaces, backing out of spaces, backing into spaces, like just getting used to how a car feels before taking it on the road.
And I think, did you take the driver, like the actual like driving class through our high school?
Oh, it's just driver's ed?
Yeah, but I mean, like, there was the test, like this class portion, then there was the actual driving portion.
I don't remember now. I know I definitely had the class portion, but I don't think I. Or no, wait. No, I think I did because we got paired up with someone, didn't we?
Yeah, it was always you.
I did. Yeah,
somebody else like driving. You would switch driver to back seat.
Yeah, well, I did do that. I forgot about it, but yeah, that memory was completely gone. But
I don't know if they're doing that now with COVID. I don't know what they're doing. But that's what I told my sister. I was like, that's where you're going to learn to do a lot of your driving. I was like, because it's the same teacher we had.
He's still there.
He's still there. So they still don't know if his leg's fake.
It's always going to be a mystery. No one will ever know for sure. He's probably not even sure. He probably has some questions at this point.
I told her, I was like, he's a really good teacher. I was like, he has his own brake, so he's going to hit the brake for you. I was like, which is kind of helpful.
It's also very scary because it hits hard.
Yeah, because he's like, slow down.
So that brake comes in fast. You just bounce your chest off the steering wheel.
But yeah, that was most of my weekend. Like weekend was that kind of like WandaVision and everything I talked about.
Just being a good brother, trying to teach her.
Trying to be a good son, trying to be a good brother.
Trying to do it all. Trying to have it all. Yeah, so I all I did was our friend's daughter had a birthday party and we went over like a few people and we were just over there on Sunday for like most of the day. But so I mean, like it was just stuff like that I did, and I just lost it. I was just about to ask you something, and I don't remember what it was.
Well, I saw Renee snap me a picture of you holding look like an adult Capri Sun. It said like,
Oh yeah,
sex on the beach, and I was like, where are they at? I go, oh, they're at they're at the birthday party.
yeah. That's what she made. It looked like IV bags that she put just like vodka and then either cranberry juice, orange juice, or both in, and that was like the adult Capri Suns, and then the kids had like their own Capri Suns, and they were all mixed together in the same container, so they were easily confused, and several kids got drunk. But
all the kids are just projectile vomiting.
yeah, no, I mean their daughter just turned 4, so like all the little kids, it's not like they even had the ability to get a drink on their own. So, yeah, it was just we were just hanging out over there, and then we were there like all night long, and we didn't get home till like after 11 that night, and we just went there at like 3 o'clock or something. Also, we stopped to get her some, because this is how my psychology works. I don't even think about the fact we're going to a birthday party and that we should get her a gift, because growing up, I didn't have that. Not like, oh, I was so poor and impoverished, but for me when I was growing up, like my aunts and uncles didn't even get me anything. Like my aunt, like my one aunt may have probably, but all my gifts would come from my grandma or my mom or my dad, like my parents. Right. So like we would have parties, but everyone would just show up, and they didn't have any like, there was no like expectation for them to bring me something. It was just like, oh yeah, like, and that ended when I was like, I don't know, 7 or something.
They might have
like
got you
31.
cards, but cards were not exciting.
Yeah, and that was pretty much it. And my aunt still sends us cards for birthdays, and she sends Renee and I both. But so like it's just one of those things, like, you know, I'm like in my early 30s, and it's like, oh yeah, we're an adult, and like it just didn't occur to me, because I think it was last year when we were going to the party, and when I got Renee's engagement ring, it was, you were like, oh yeah, and I got her, I forget, you got her like that keyboard thing, didn't you?
The floor keyboards, yeah.
Yeah, that she could like jump on, and I was like, oh yeah, presents, huh? I was like, yeah, that is a thing that we probably should do at a birthday party. And just like that just wasn't in my head to do that. I don't remember. Did I talk about my whole process for getting I think I did. The whole problem I had getting the ring back. Last year. So I was pretty sure I did. But that's what we went to. We just went to Walmart because we asked like what she would want, and apparently she just said Barbies, and I was like, okay, pretty like almost. It's like saying what's your favorite band and going the Beatles. It's like, okay, it just seems like a very standard answer,
right? And
then we went to look at them, and I was like, I am so out of my depth here. I was like, there are so many different Barbies, and I don't know who that one is. I don't know if that still counts as Barbie, if that one has a different name. And there's a lot of career choices here. Like there's like ranch hand Barbie and like bartender Barbie, and there's like all kinds of like different selections that were there. And I was like, I have no idea what she would want. But right behind that was a bunch of Nerf guns, and I was like, I actually think she'd probably like this more. I was like, I think there was like a 12 gauge hunting shotgun looking one, and I was like, I feel like that's way more up her alley than the Barbies are. And I honestly kind of want to get it for her, because I know she would drive them all insane. But no, we ended up getting, like, I don't know, Renee was like, oh, what about this one? I was like, I have no idea. Like, I have no opinion here. I don't know what she has. I don't know what the difference is. Care.
You just have no guess.
Well, to me, there was like, they're kind of all the same. It's all just Barbies, but then she's wearing, like, this one she's a different outfit. This one she's a kid. Like, this one she's a gun or something. I don't know. I'm just making, there was a bunch of different selections. Like, I don't know like what would be preferential as a kid to have. And Renee can't be trusted with that either, because she had like real world level stories going on with her Barbies when she was like 8 years old. Like this Barbie was cheating on like her, like Ken, with like the G.I. Joe that she had a childhood, but it's like neither of us really could be trusted with it, so we just kind of grabbed them. But we got it in front of like Father of the Year, and I was like, I've never seen someone so openly abuse their child, not like physically, but It was definitely like emotionally and mentally of like their kid who was like maybe 4 years old, 5 years old. She was in a wagon. I mean, she wasn't like she was nowhere near like even if she was like 12. That's still really messed up to do. And this guy, he's like pulls her over in the wagon in the aisle. He's like, grab a Barbie and we're getting out of here. And I was like, that was pretty to the point. I was like, I don't know. And you know, in your head, you kind of like you can jump to conclusions, but I was like, maybe she did something terrible today, and he's just like, get your like grab it and we're leaving. Like,
Right.
I was like, who knows? So I'm not gonna jump on this guy's case too much. And then we were like looking around and looking at stuff and like making decisions, and we came back and he was like, she was sitting there looking at him, and then he just like basically starts talking to her like a coworker who's not pulling his weight almost. And like he was just like, he's like, will you just pick one of them? And she's like, I just don't know which one. He goes, God, you're spoiled as shit, and this is always the fucking problem with you. And I was like, oh my God, like, dude, this guy's older than me and has a kid who is so young. I was just like, God, this guy, like, this is the type of guy, if you saw him get tasered in the neck, you would feel justified and not feel any remorse for watching him suffer. And I was like, man, I remember having those moments all the time working in retail where you would see, I don't remember ever seeing it because I'm working at Lowe's and stuff, but not many kids came through. I mean, people would bring their kids in with them, obviously, but most of the time it was couples. But there was a few times where like I would just see like the husband like verbally abusing his wife, and I was just like, does he think like I'm on his side with this? I mean, I'm working, so it's not like I can really do anything. Like I'm not gonna say like, you know, you can't really say anything because then you'll just get in trouble and get fired or whatever. And it wasn't like that they were screaming them into a corner, but they were just making comments the whole time. You're like, ooh, you must have a really terrible relationship. And I was like, I just was trying to pick out which Barbie career we wanted to give her. Was made extra uncomfortable by the fact that this guy in a camo jacket and a shaved head was just yelling at his tiny daughter like she was an adult fighting with him or something. And I was like, oh, man, kid, I hope you're all right. I mean,
do you need to come home with me?
Yeah, that's what I should have just tipped over the whole rack onto him, and then we could have grabbed her and we could have ran out of there and saved her. That's what I should have done. But
so you didn't get the Nerf gun?
No, but I wanted to.
I feel like the Nerf gun would have been a hit.
And we were told by our friend, like both of her parents, that we should have done it and that they could have had wars. And I was like, I thought about it, but then I thought you'd be like, why the hell would you, like, this is going to make our lives so much worse that she now has a weapon that she can fight us with. But someone got her a karaoke machine, and like she got a karaoke machine. Like, we're already screwed. Like, it's going to be over.
True.
Yeah. But yeah, it was my first experience in our old hometown's Walmart in a long time. So I was like, I feel like I shouldn't have expected anything less. It's I think the last time or not the last time, but one of the times I went to their house for like a party, or maybe could have been for like her birthday or something. A couple years ago, I remember I was driving through the middle of town. It was pouring down rain, and there was just a girl pushing a stroller just in the rain, just casually walking down the street. And I was like, I'm fucking home. Like, this is welcome back, buddy. So you're back in Newcastle. It's here.
We are.
I should say too, shout out to whoever in our hometown listens to this podcast, because we have been getting, like, I've been seeing downloads in Newcastle, and I was like, because you never know, maybe it's someone we know, but there's multiple ones that are like for the same episode, we're getting multiple downloads in Newcastle, and I was like, I don't know who's listening in our neck of the woods from way back when, but it's nice to know we got some roots. We got something to fall back on. And I hope you're doing well, and I hope you weren't yelling at your daughter in Walmart this past weekend, because I just outed you to everybody.
I hope it is that person.
Yeah, just some angry, like, 48-year-old guy who listens to us ramble about just bullshit every week.
Well, you think it's time for some vision? WandaVision?
Probably, because that's definitely what we'll spend the most time talking about. And I feel like I came into this, like, at work, I thought of a bunch of stuff to talk about, and then once we sat down, it's like I didn't even work today. It's like I forgot everything that happened before I sat down. So I'm running dry. But yeah, we're like 40 minutes in, so
we're on full spoiler mode, full spoiler territory. If you need to turn it off. Turn it off.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it from beginning to end, so it's not like if you've seen most of it, that the ending won't be talked about, and obviously it's speculation and everything. So this is your final warning. So if you've not watched it, then this is the time to turn off and to remember this timestamp to then come back later. But now we can start talking about WandaVision in full.
What a fucking show! Holy shit!
What a ride! I'm happy you liked it.
Oh my goodness! I started on like Thursday night after my dad's dinner, and I was just so tired. I was like, and I watched the first 2 episodes, and I was like, okay, I get why people weren't really into this, but it did have that like old school movie like kookiness where like whoa, what are you doing over? Like
Yeah, the old sitcoms and everything.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, like that's fine. Like
and that's that's pretty much what I said when we talked about it 2 weeks ago or whatever. That's the first 2 episodes, because I think they came out the same day. I think there was when it premiered. I think it was 2. I think, and I was like, I remember people saying like they didn't like those, and when we watched it, I was like, I understand, like I can see why people didn't, but I really liked them. I liked it because it was confusing. Like they went through the story, but then they had those moments where like they would say something and you'd see them kind of like look off to the side, and they'd be like, "Or did we? Like what's like?" They were just confused.
Yeah, well, Vision, yeah, they were totally confused because he was like, "What's the hot?" And they're like, "It's I don't know." He's like, "What do I do here?" Stuff like that. But the part that like got me with the first episode probably got everybody because it's supposed to. Whenever his boss is choking and Kitty, I don't know Kitty's real name. I don't even remember her name.
Deborah Jo Rupp.
What is it?
Deborah Jo Rupp.
Whenever she's going, "Stop it," but she's smiling and she's saying, "Stop it," and I was like, "Whoa, what the fuck's happening?"
Yeah, it was really creepy. And that
was like,
because it was that part too where Wanda, she even said, she was like, when did we move here? Like she was confused.
Yeah.
And then she was like, Vision, help him, and then Vision immediately did it. And that's why I said like there was so much of it of like, what is happening? And that's what in between episodes what a lot of Renee and I were trying to like talk about and figure out, because like at the beginning I was like trying to, because I did say eventually I was like, unless this is like she's caught in this thing like from losing Vision, she like had a meltdown and she's not entirely sure what's going on, but she's kind of realizing it's going on, like, or as it like progresses. Because like at the because that was the only part that I was like, it threw me off all the time, was because she was confused at that first episode, and then but later on it seemed like it was pretty clear that she had some knowledge of what was going on and control over it. Yeah. And that's what like, so like that whole thing threw me for a loop, and I had so many guesses as to what was going on, and we had so many discussions on particularly those first couple episodes.
In the cast for the show, besides like the Avenger people, was pretty stacked.
What do you mean by Avenger people? Like, you mean like Vision and...
Yeah.
Well, it brought in a lot of characters from other movies, which is why whenever you were asking, you're like, should I watch the other ones? I was like, I didn't want to say too much because I don't even know what her name is actually, but Kat Dennings' character from Thor is in WandaVision.
Yes.
And that's why I was like, well, I mean, she is in this show. And that's why I was like, if I say it, it's going to give away whether or not...
Yeah.
It's
she was Darcy.
Darcy, that's it.
And like, that's what, like, we were watching it. I was like, oh, Kat Dennings. And my brother-in-law was like, she's from the second Thor movie. I was like, oh, yeah, I didn't watch that. Okay.
But did you recognize, and I forget his name too, but I think his name is Randall Park, I think?
Yeah, Randall Park. I have the IMDb pulled up so I can look at the episode.
Yeah, because he was an Ant-Man.
Yeah, I recognized him. He's also fake Jim Halpert.
Yes, yes he was.
And I love Catherine Hahn as an actress, and she was so good in this show. She was Agnes or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, she was really great in it, and she played... Like, it was almost, actually, at the end, I know, 'cause we're kind of jumping around, but, like, whenever she's, like, the witch Agnes, there were certain parts of it felt, like, almost out of place based on the character she was playing. Like, I feel like she played that old-school sitcom character so perfectly. Like, the quirky best friend. And in any era. Like, from when they started, like, in the 50s, I think, moving to the 60s and the 70s, and, like, all the way through, she played that sidekick character that's been in all those sitcoms through all the decades. It's like she played all those roles perfectly.
Yes. And and since I knew there was a second witch, I kept trying to guess who it was, and I was like, "Who the fuck is the second witch?" That was one thing that was in the back of my mind the whole time.
So
I was
you knew
watching.
that?
That was spoiled for me. I don't think I said it last week. Somebody said there's a second witch, and I was like, "Motherfucker!"
Yeah, I think the episode because
The one that don't touch that dial is the second episode.
the episode we were on whenever I like without spoilers talked about WandaVision was I think the one where they just revealed her to be like the witch or whatever.
That was like seven or 8.
Yeah, because then
Yeah.
8 is whenever they go through like the previously on or whatever, and they go through the whole like history of how she got, to this point or whatever, and then there was the final one. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like that was the one that we were on. So it's like it just got revealed on that episode. So I was still fresh information for me too.
So that going into the second, we can go into the second episode, first episode, but that was pretty much it for me.
Yeah.
I have nothing. Second episode
Starts to unravel a little bit more.
Well, I don't remember much, but I remember that's the magic show episode, and the girl, I think her name was Dottie.
Yeah.
I thought she was gonna be the witch because she was a bitch.
Well, the second episode's where it was still black and white, but that's where
Yeah.
she finds the helicopter that's red. She's like the color
Yes.
starts bleeding in.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
also
yeah.
where he's trying to communicate with her through the TV or the radio.
The radio, right?
At the party. That's also where the beekeeper climbs out of the sewer and she just says no, and then they just reset.
Was that episode? Yeah.
Yeah, it was black and white.
Oh, that's right. It was black and white. Yeah, because that was one thing. When that happened, I was like, obviously that guy's not supposed to be there. What the fuck is this?
Yeah. And I thought one of the things I thought was really cool is that they didn't. There was I think it was an episode after that because it was like the '80s sitcom, and I think it was that
Now
one.
in Color. I think Now in Color is the 70s, like the Brady Bunch.
Well, I don't remember what episode it was in, but there was one where Vision's walking over to her and he says like, "Wait, this isn't right," and then it hard cuts to him walking back around the couch again. Like there was no fanfare about it. It was just a snap cut to him being. Like to her resetting it, and there was no like it didn't even show her face. It didn't cut away. Like it didn't, or I should say, it didn't cut to a different angle or anything. It was just like it was such a. I was like, I don't know why, but that moment, I was like, I actually really like that. I like that they were like they're showing you her editing it on the fly.
Yeah, because that's what. Anytime she did something that, like when she, one, I don't remember her name.
So you saw Captain Marvel, right?
No.
Okay. So you have no idea her significance.
She's Captain Marvel's best friend's daughter.
And Captain Marvel's best friend died, essentially. Not essentially, she did.
She died. She died during the
5 years.
Yeah.
No, oh yeah, she died in between because she died of like an illness or something like that.
Right. She didn't get snapped away. She just passed away due to cancer.
Yeah, because that's what we were. That was one of the because that was what episode like 4 because that's after she gets kicked out after she has the kids, and
I think episode 4. Yeah, as we interrupt this program.
And
So,
that's
yeah.
so they like whenever she got kicked out, they kept saying like Rambo. They kept referring to her as that, and I was like, that name just sounds familiar, and I was like, wait, and I was trying to like piece it together, and I was like, wait, isn't that the name? And then as I was thinking that, as I said out loud, I go, isn't that the name? She passed the photo of her mom. I go, that was fucking her. That's the little girl in Captain Marvel. Because I know she become like in the comics, I think she becomes Miss Marvel. Like she looks up to Captain Marvel a lot, and then she basically takes over the mantle in a certain way. I've not read the comics, but from what I've been told about it, that's what I've heard.
Right.
So it's like I don't know if that's how accurate that is, but it's like something like that where she takes over or like is inspired by her and has her own like story arc. You go, that's who that is. I was like, oh, they killed off Captain Marvel's friend in the interim in those 5 years.
Yeah. And that was something my brother-in-law told me. He was like, do you know who that is? I go, no.
No idea.
I was like, the 2 movies I didn't see so far have a small, like just catches I'm not catching.
Yeah, that was the small details that I was like, I really enjoyed too. Is like that they hid so much in the show, so that there was like extra. Like if you had seen all the movies, it's kind of like Endgame, where it's like you could watch Infinity War and Endgame, and it could just be an entertaining movie. But if you've seen all of them, you know the significance of certain lines or like things that they do. and just
Right.
adds an extra like little more English on the ball. Like it's a little nicer.
I'm trying to
But
think now when
I really liked how they moved through the decades too to show every era of sitcom television.
when they went from black and white and it just like faded into color, I was like, that was cool as fuck. I really liked that.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool effect.
And then Now in Color episode 3 is like I thought it was the Brady Bunch. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but it's like the Brady Bunch 70s. You see, what's his name, Herb? Or
Yeah.
Hugh? I can look it up real quick. But whenever he's like,
You're talking about like their neighbor?
yeah, and he's like trimming his bushes, then he's just in the like the cinder blocks, just like,
yeah.
And Vision's like, you all right? What we doing over here?
Yeah, that's whenever she's having the kids.
Right, she's pregnant, and it's like out of nowhere. She's like turns around, she's like, "Oh, I'm pregnant." Mm-hmm. And I was like, "Well, what the fuck? What was that?"
Yeah, it seemed like at a certain point that obviously she was. Well, I mean, you know this from at this point or actually not this point, but the next episode when they go in, they explain all that stuff. But it's like it seemed pretty clear by the third episode that she was controlling it in some way. It was more so like, how did she get here, and like what caused all. I mean, obviously, you know, like she lost vision. This is like has to be some sort of like emotional breakdown because, like Vision's there, they're living this perfect life, but it was just like that point. It's like it was pretty clear that she was the one manipulating it and making it happen.
Right.
Obviously, because they were like asking, like people were asking, should I follow the script and everything, but it was still very confusing. I don't think I really knew what was happening until like the 7th episode, maybe 8th episode, in some way. Like it was still pretty up in the air.
Well, I think Now in Color is like, you know, the big thing is they had the twins. You know, they were like having like the classic like, we're gonna name him this, we're gonna name him that, and then they were like, and Vision not caves. He's like, we'll name him Billy or whatever she wanted, and then she's like, twins.
Yeah.
And then she had her babies, and then, dang, I forget her name already. Rambo. I don't remember how she like snaps out of like the mind trance essentially from Wanda, and she's like, "You're Wanda." She's like,
I don't think she was ever under it.
"Oh, I thought she was." Oh no, you're right. She wasn't
Because she like snuck in
at the pool party. She's like, "I'm just trying to say anything because I don't know what's happening."
Yeah, so I don't think she ever was. She was trying to get like intel on Wanda and everything.
But whenever she was like, Ultron killed your brother, and she's like, what?
Yeah, and then that's the first time you see her actually say, you don't belong here, and then she like kicks her out, and it's like, okay, she's clearly, this is her own doing. But it's like, you know, why are so many people involved? Like, why? It's like, why was she confused at the beginning still? There was a lot of those types of questions that I still had there.
Yeah, and when she got ejected out, that's when I was like, okay. I was like, because I don't remember if that was the episode. No, it had to be the next episode. Whenever they show them going to
the sword base.
Yeah, the base and like
yeah,
Kat Dennings.
Yeah, because you don't know anything about her until that moment where she starts talking about Ultron, and then she kicks her out, and then she lands on the outside of the like cube that she made, and then all the sword people are showing up to get her, and then the next episode starts with her like reforming in the hospital, along with everyone else who was there, and then they're all like rushing around, and then you see like building up to her going in, and then her coming out and everything. And then you see some like context around some of the moments, like the beekeeper guy, the radio thing where he was trying to talk to Wanda through the radio.
Yeah.
Like the helicopter crashing in, like all that's like you get context for all that kind of stuff and like where that all came from.
Because like whenever she picks up the drone or the helicopter, I was like, that's not the same one. I go, that's a different color. I was like, what's this? And my brother-in-law was like, just wait. Then it was like the next episode. They flew a bunch in, but they were all getting destroyed or whatever because they were the wrong time period.
Oh yeah, they like were being bent and restructured to fit the current time period.
Right. So they didn't work.
Yeah. I did really, because that's like there's a lot of shows in there, and I like that they like as they went through the decades, I was like, when you were watching through, I was like, this is like almost like a Full House, like a step-by-step style show.
Yeah,
And
that's
then like
the next episode. Yeah.
and then like the next one is like I was like this is so clearly Malcolm in the Middle. It's crazy. I was like it's like how much you could tell. Then I want to see if you picked up on this. I know like you're kind of going episode by episode, but just in terms of like not story, but just things that they did with the show. I like that they went to like a Modern Family type one, like the more modern sitcom, but they used the Office intro, and I was like, I love that they did that because the Office is kind of similar to Modern Family in that way.
I didn't catch the Office intro.
If you go back to watch the intro to like that episode where she's like talking to the camera, which is again is very Modern Family because it's like they're sitting on the couch, it's the family life, it's like a documentary style. Although Modern Family, I don't think ever addresses what that is. It's just they just kind of use it. But the intro is all like hard cuts between like things happening, and I think it even shows like a road sign as they're like driving by it, and that it has like a piano style like jingle to it at the same time. It's like it's very very similar to The Office, and I was like that's funny. But the reason I said that, like what I like too, is that you see later on when she's watching all those shows with her family. Like you see Malcolm in the Middle in there. You see all the shows that it's like exactly like the Dick Van Dyke Show and everything.
Everything was referenced, yeah.
And it's like you see directly that is like these were like homages to each of those classic shows. So it wasn't just like, oh, let's make a general like 80s sitcom or a general 90s sitcom. Like they went directly for the reference to those shows. Which I mean, in terms of story makes sense, but I liked it. I made me like those moments more because I knew they were based off of actual
Real
shows.
Yeah.
And they were taking like cues from those shows and everything. But I was a big fan of that.
Yeah, I mean that was like was that episode 7 or 8? I forget which episode you're talking about. Like where they go through Wanda's life essentially.
That was 8.
So like the next episode would be like the 90s late 80s early 90s episode where they get a dog, the dog dies, and they're like bring him back, and Wanda's
it was such a classic sitcom because it had like the moral lessons. Life isn't all squeaky clean. And I think that's the one too where like her hair's a little like it's not done perfectly. Like you can kind of it's like you can really see the way sitcoms change through the years just in the show, like how it was like from being like completely put together, wearing like a house dress and have her hair completely done, to now it's like things are unraveled a little bit more. Things are a little more chaotic. There's a life lesson in the show now instead of it just being all squeaky clean.
Stylized though, because like she had like the big poofy like hair.
Yeah, but I'm saying like it's such a difference in the eras that you can see between these ones.
This was the episode where I realized Agnes kept drinking. She's like, how do people do this sober? Like every time you like, not every time, but most times they cut to her, she had an alcoholic drink in her hand, and I was like, and that's what I thought. I was like maybe the mind control is not as strong on her, or like it's affecting her different, where she's still kind of conscious. Because obviously I didn't know she was the witch, so I was like, that's why she's drinking so much to dull the pain.
Oh, I just figured that was like her personality quirk.
Oh, see, I went the other way because I was like, this means something.
Maybe it did. I didn't know there was a witch, so I wasn't looking for it either.
True. So that's one thing that I wish I didn't hear, but
yeah. We'll get more into the witch as we kind of progress through the episodes here.
And then the end of that episode is when her recasted brother shows up, and it's the dude from the Quicksilver from X-Men. Yeah. And I was like, after that episode, I was like, what the fuck is happening? I was like, now I'm so amped. Like, what is going on here? I was like, we about to have a major crossover. I was like, what is happening?
I was blown away. I was like, it's hilarious that her brother is played by the other Quicksilver and the other, which is now their rights. Like they have the rights to the X-Men, but when those movies were made, they were two different studios making it, so they couldn't have been the same actor, and they have different. That's why her dad isn't Magneto, because he's supposed to be. Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver's dad is Magneto in the comics, which is why that was the case in the Days of Future Past like arc of X-Men. Those are his kids, but in Marvel, in like Marvel Studios, the cinematic universe, they just had their powers from the stones because they didn't have the rights to X-Men, so they couldn't make that story. So it's like it's so funny that they brought him back because it's like it made sense that it would be. It's like her own like trauma building that she's built here. So it makes sense that he would be there and that he couldn't be the normal Pietro because it's just people in town. Like,
right.
It had to be like there'd be something, but then they got an extra layer and made it the guy from the other ones. I was so happy with that decision. So happy.
I didn't know. I was like, okay, because I thought, I mean, everyone's suspecting that they're gonna do like an Avengers X-Men thing eventually, because I think that they can now, and it's obviously gonna do a fuck ton of money. But anyway, that one I was like, holy shit! And then the next one was the Halloween episode.
Yeah,
which
that was the Malcolm in the Middle one.
Huh?
That was the Malcolm in the Middle one.
Yeah, but this is also when Vision's like, something's not right. Yeah. He realizes it, and I think this is when he confronts Wanda.
No, this is the Halloween one. He already knew, because I think the last episode ended with them having like a super power levitation fight in the living room.
Yes, you're right.
Because that's where it was. The credits start rolling. And he's like, no, stop just walking away, and he's like following her, like as the sitcom would tip. There's people like applauding and everything, and that's where they have the fight. Because this one begins with her talking to her brother and stuff, and he's like, I'll just go to work if it even matter. Like he makes like a comment or something like that, and she kind of gives him like a glare. So it's like he was making these little passive aggressive comments about what was happening and her lying to him. Yeah, and so like he's investigating that whole episode.
Because he also was like, she's like, thank you for playing along with my costume. He's like, well, there's nothing else in my closet.
Yeah.
He was obviously angered.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember. That was the one where he tries to warn people outside, and then he starts disintegrating.
Yeah, he breaks through the wall because he sees Agnes in her car. Because like, I think Wanda says like, don't go past like Eugene Street or whatever. And that's where he walks to, and Agnes is there just sitting in her car, and he unlocks
along
her
with all
mind.
the other people.
Yeah, and he unlocks her mind, and she's like, "Am I dead? Because you're dead." He's like, what?
Yeah, that's one where you get the first like hint that there's something wrong with like Pietro, because he did something very similar to what I think it's Maria Rambeau is her name, but it did something similar to what she did, where he's just bringing up the stuff that's like is real life and not just in there, because he's even acknowledging like he's like, yeah, but I mean you're just making this up anyway. He's like, he was kind of like breaking the fourth wall in a way of her reality that she made there, so you could tell something was like amiss with him. I mean, obviously we knew he wasn't the real Pietro, but there was something specifically about him that was different than the other people that were in this like fantasy thing that she built.
Yeah, because he says something like, you can't bring back like your dead dog or your dead husband, and she blasts him.
Yeah, I forget he said something else too. But yeah, and then the kid gets like the super speed and like they get the powers and everything. One thing that is interesting that Renee showed me is that there was like an interview, I think after like maybe Age of Ultron or something, but there was an interview with Elizabeth Olsen to play Scarlet Witch, where someone was asked like, what would you be like your dream, or like what's a storyline you would like to see them actually like go for with the Scarlet Witch, and I should have like realized this was based off of a comic, but she said I guess it's House of M, I think. I'd love to see them do that. But I don't think they're gonna go through with making Wanda lose her mind and have like two fake kids in this like whole world. And I was like, it's kind of funny because that's exactly what they did. They went right down that route.
I heard people mention that once I watched it, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but yeah, it's that, her going.
Which I like not knowing before I'm watching. Like, because then I would just be thinking about the comic. Like, I read the Infinity War comic after I'd seen the movies, and there's not a lot of, like, I mean, there's parallels in it, but a lot, like, the Infinity War comic gets pretty insane. And it's way different than the movies are. Like, way different. But still, it's like, I like not knowing, like, really anything going into it. I'd rather just see it and experience it this way and then learn about everything afterward.
It's more enjoyable that way. So then Halloween 1, and then Breaking the Fourth Wall is the Modern Family 1, episode 7, and that's when we learn, because the one child, like he can, I don't know if he's like Vision's powers,
he's like
or what.
Telepath or something. Like he could hear, like he knew like that Vision was in trouble outside of the cube thing. Like he has some sort of, like, it was like, it wasn't really explained, but like a telekinetic type of ability, some sort.
when they go to Agnes's house, he's like, I like it here. It's quiet. Because she obviously has spells all over her house. And I didn't catch that either because I was like, oh, she's like the nice neighbor. And then I forget how she finds out the kids are in trouble or whatever.
Yeah, how did that all transpire? Because I'm trying to think of what happened in...
Or was it Vision was trying to come back with Darcy?
Well, Vision got pulled back into the cube thing because she
she expanded it. And then he was like in the circus.
Oh yeah, they're in the truck and they're getting held up, so he flies away.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think, how did she... I'm trying to think what the conflict was in that episode. I don't remember.
But if you think about that, Monica, is her name Monica? Monica Rambeau?
Maybe.
Yeah, Monica
maybe
Rambeau.
her mom was Maria Rambeau.
But Monica comes back in, and she's looking for Wanda, and she gets fucking powers.
Yeah. Which I was wondering how they were going to do, like, how she was going to get her abilities and stuff if she... Because I knew, like, from when we saw Captain Marvel, I knew that her friend's daughter becomes, like, Miss Marvel or something. Or maybe it's not Miss Marvel, but she becomes, like, a superhero. So I was wondering how that was going to transpire.
Well, I thought she was now the third witch.
Okay.
Because she was, like, the blue witch. She had blue powers. She also had, like, Vision's power. She could, like, I don't want to say like go like see through or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, whoa. I was like, now she's super powerful. But that was also when, like the after scene credits, whenever Pietro finds her snooping and he says something to her, then takes her into like his room.
Yeah, where he like she was climbing into she opened the basement doors and he shows up. Yeah.
And then the next episode, like we said, is reliving Wanda's life from like the bomb dropping to her becoming Hydra to an Avenger to losing Vision.
And this is the episode that I've seen. This is the one that people quote all the time now, because that's where whenever Vision's having the conversation after she's like in the Avenger building or whatever, there's a thing that keeps or the line people keep quoting that I've seen is that where he says like, what is grief if not love persisting?
Yeah,
it's like he has like a long speech, but that's the line out of that like his monologue there that people have been quoting. Which I mean, it's a good line. It's definitely it's an impactful line. But that's like in terms of all the stuff that I've seen, because I saw people posting that before I saw the episode. And then when I watch it, I go, oh, that's what it was. Okay, now it makes sense why I was seeing that.
Right. It was a nice moment. It was like. I think Wanda still wasn't a full Avenger, or she was just there. They didn't know what to do with her. And Vision was kind of just hanging out. Like,
well, if you remember Civil War, she was like kind of that was her home. Like she was kind of that's where she lived. And Civil War is where Vision was kind of watching after her. And like at a certain point, she was told not to leave because she's the one that like blows up the building and starts the whole Civil War storyline, basically. But. So she was kind of just in Civil War. She was living there. She was like that's where she was training. That's where she just existed. So it's like that was her place.
But it was a nice snippet on like them. Like he didn't understand why she was like upset, but she was like, "This is it." And then
it's still pretty like shaky, but it also explains why her accent went away over the movies. Because she had a strong, like, basically, like, you know...
European accent.
Yeah, like almost like a Russian accent in a way, her and her brother. And as the movies have gone on, it's gotten less and less. And then every once in a while, it would just kind of slip out. But in the first scene when she's a little kid and her parents bring home, or like they have all the movies, like what they want to play, they said they were watching the sitcoms to learn English.
Right.
And then after that point... she was watching the sitcoms like for comfort all the time because then her parents died, her brother died, like things were always traumatic, things were always happening, things were always bad. So she was always watching those sitcoms either for comfort or maybe just because she just loved them in general, but she was watching them all the time. So like it kind of makes sense that if that's the reason why she was watching the sitcoms, then it would have improved over the years and years of her watching them all the time and obviously being in the language. But
that's what fake Pietro brings it up. He goes, "What happened to your accent?"
Yeah. which I thought was really funny because that's one
Yeah.
of the things that people always say.
Yeah, that was
Like it's not a perfect explanation, but it's at least an explanation.
right. It made sense to me whenever like she obviously if we watch Spanish movies for 25 years, yeah, we pick it up eventually.
When I was listening to a podcast, and there was the one guy on there. His mom is from like South America, and he said that like he went to school, like went to college in Bolivia or something. I don't remember where it was. And when he came back, he was correcting his mom's Spanish because she had just been out of the language for so long that she actually like she was not losing it, but it wasn't as like crisp, or like she was saying words wrong and stuff like that. Like,
Right.
so it's like, yeah, it does happen where if you're not immersed in it, or you're like, if you live amongst another group of people, you do start to kind of adapt the way they speak and the way they do things, just to to blend in, to fit in, and you just kind of pick it up naturally. You absorb it.
But that brings us to the series finale, which was a fucking hoot nanny.
It was just a war episode where they were all just fighting, and Real Vision came back, like the physical Vision, because they try to rebuild him, which
Right.
I guess he's called White Vision, or that's what people are calling him.
You can't call him that.
Yes, well, he's super white, so
That's
he's white and he has blue eyes.
My sister kept saying that's White Vision. I was like, you can't say that. It's very racist.
You can't bring race into this. You can't call him Red Vision. That's way too wrong. It's way too upsetting to everybody.
You can call him Vision B.
Yeah, but so like the Real Vision actually came back and was fighting, and
Under the control of that fucking dude. I don't remember his name.
yeah, that was I guess like a twist thing in the story that they didn't even really emphasize a whole lot. But the fact that at the beginning of it, he said that she broke in and stole Vision, but that wasn't actually true. She broke in and was like basically examined him, and then she left. So it's like he was going off this whole story that she stole him, and that's what they're there for, is to retrieve Vision. But that was obviously, he lied about that whole thing and was just trying to rebuild Vision for his own purposes. But that was one of the scenes that was, especially after, like, because in Infinity War, that was like the thing they said to each other, because she got her power from the Mind Stone. He is the Mind Stone, basically. So they have like this connection just kind of built into themselves. So like in Infinity War, whenever I think they were trying to reconstruct it or something. I forget what it was, but the thing they would say to each other is like, "All I feel is you," or something like that. Or I think they said at the beginning when they're in like the hotel room, and because his stone kept like acting up because all the Infinity Stones were like coming together, and Thanos was like collecting them, and then she would like interact with it to try to, I guess, like soothe him or something, and she said, "All I feel is you," and that's when they get attacked and everything.
Yeah.
But then at the end, whenever Thanos kills Vision, that's what he says to her, to like, whenever she's like, "I can't do this," or something like that. It's like, "All I feel is you," or whatever it is. It's like this really
Right.
like tender moment of between them, and it's like their thing. And that's what, whenever she broke in and then she was like kind of examining him, and she's like, "I can't feel you anymore." I was like, "Oh God!" I was like, I'm gonna start weeping. I was like, "Oh, that's so sad."
You're
I was like,
crying into your dog's back.
I'm just holding her in my face. Well, that was the one thing too. Like when they first showed Vision just dismembered in that lab, I was like, "Oh my God!" I was like, because for most people watching it, yeah, he's like the cyborg, being, but he is very human-like. So when you see him cut into pieces and pulled apart and all over the place, I was like, that felt like pretty. Even though he's a robot, it still felt really graphic to see him dismembered like that. And I was like, "Whoa!" And then whenever she shows up and says that, I was like, "Oh, this is fucking tough. This is a really tough scene." And then, yeah, but then obviously, like I said, then she leaves. But the story he kept telling was that she stole Vision for her own purposes or whatever. And obviously that wasn't the case. And then Real Vision fights fake Vision, and everyone else faces Agnes.
Like whenever they were like fighting, and they're like, "Wait a minute, let's talk."
Well, yeah, I forget what he says. Something, and
He talks about that one ship. He's like, if the ship is rebuilt every,
No, he says something like when they're fighting. He said my directive is to destroy Vision. He goes, "But you're the real Vision," and he goes, request elaboration or something like that.
Yeah,
And that's when they started doing that floating 360 thing around that, like, I don't know, the library or wherever they were at fighting.
I think it was a library, or
and that's where he starts
books.
talking about that ship, whatever that is. I forget what it's called, but yeah, that's where and then he just leaves. He just takes off.
He unlocks his memories and he's like, white vision out.
You can't salute like that as white vision.
Right.
That's unacceptable.
Well, I was me flying away, but
yeah, his hands at your side. You have the chin first.
But yeah, that was one thing. I was like, he just disappeared. I go, obviously, my thought is he's going to the Avengers headquarters, or he's going somewhere to be like, I'm back, and I'm white. Someone paint me.
I'm white. Finally. I got all the privileges. But yeah, I don't know, because it shows him, it's implied that since he is like the manifestation of the Mind Stone, essentially in her little box universe.
Yeah.
That he has those abilities just like she does. So it's like they show you the yellow going through his new stone hole.
Yeah.
And then his eyes change to human eyes, which was really creepy. So, but I was like, I don't know if that means he knows everything or if it's still very chopped up and he's still very confused and doesn't really understand. That's why he just left to try to piece together who he is and what's happening, because he has fragments. Because I think that's what he said. He said that it's still in your memory banks, but it's
he's just easier to control you
encrypted.
without your memories or something.
Yeah, and he said it's still those are still in there. They're just encrypted, or he says something like that, and then that's where he does his thing, and then he flies away. So it's possible he's just gonna have to figure out he has bits and pieces of information, but he doesn't have the whole picture yet. So he's not full vision. Because I think if he was full vision, he would have went to Wanda, and then would have been took her and flew away, or helped her fight Agnes or something.
True.
So I just think he's still very scrambled. He just has a little bit of the picture as to who he is and what happened. And then he took off.
On the other end of town, Wanda and Agnes, full-blown witch fight. And she was like, you have chaos. I don't know if it's called the chaos powers or whatever.
Yeah, it was like she'd bring the end of the world or something.
Yeah, she's like, you're the Scarlet Witch. Because earlier in one of the episodes, they're like, does she have a goofy nickname? What do we call her? He was like, is it Wanda? Or whatever her last name is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. What? I can't remember.
I would say Slovia, but that's not right.
Wanda Maximoff.
Maximoff. Yeah, he's like Maximoff. But then, she obviously gets.
Well, it shows the vision of her when she touches the Mind Stone of her and the Scarlet Witch, classic Scarlet Witch outfit, hovering down. And then it continues from there. I gotta say, because this is basically the end of the show, or not. I mean, there's a whole afterwards, the post credit scene where there's a lot to talk about.
Right.
But yeah. So I guess I assume if people are watching this, they've seen the show. But yeah, she fights Agnes, gives Agnes the powers, but was secretly applying the runes. Agnes loses.
Awesome.
She loses the ability to control the power, so she absorbs her powers back, and then gets the classic Scarlet Witch costume. Well, not classic because it's not as 80s or 70s looking. But she has, the modern version of that kind of way that Captain America has the modern version of the Captain America outfit. And then she just imprisons Agnes there. Which, when she switches Agnes back to, her version of Agnes, I laughed really hard. She's like, hi! And she goes back to being, this bubbly, happy person.
Oh, right, neighborino, or whatever she says.
Yeah. I thought that made me laugh. Just how she snapped back into that character. But the one thing that bothered me about WandaVision was the Agnes Witch thing. Because, and we were talking about it, I was like, it's just, because literally, and I still don't 100%, I don't think this is 100% wrong necessarily just yet. I know, there's a few things that kind of disprove it, but it's there's still something suspicious about it to me. But when we were watching it, I did not believe that Agnes was really a witch. I thought Agnes was the part of her that was trying to, not help, I guess, help her process the grief, because this whole thing is her. It's like a universe that she created for her to feel at home and at peace in, but it's something that she didn't have complete control over, which I think was shown a few times, which I guess was Agnes kind of messing with stuff, but she was also kind of confused by certain things, and every once in a while, like whenever people, like she was talking to people and they were all like they would either say something or like when she, I think maybe when she was talking to the sword people, where she was talking about like kind of like regretting it, but she doesn't really understand how it happened or whatever. So like it seemed like she wasn't in complete control. So it seemed like this was just her mind's or like, you know, whatever her powers version of like her own grief and whatever it is. So I thought Agnes was just like a physical representation of that, and that she was walking her through, how did you get here? Here's all the traumatic things that you went through, and then, you know, and like leading up to it. And that's why in that last fight, it was her versus essentially like the darkness inside of her, or whatever you want to call it. And that's why as soon as she beats Agnes, she immediately becomes the Scarlet Witch. Like the second Agnes is defeated, she gets the whole headdress thing and like the outfit. So I was like, because she didn't, I mean, unless she absorbed Agnes's powers too, I don't know. But it's like at least it didn't look that way when she did. It looked like she just got hers back. But I was like, that's why I thought that was. The only thing that kind of throws it off is, and I mean, I guess it still kind of could apply, but the fact that she was controlling Pietro and stuff like that, like the house she did this in was in Pietro's house, or well, the fake Pietro's house.
Yeah.
And that she had like that necklace thing on him that was controlling him. But I don't know. I still kind of think that, and the reason I think, and what bothers me about it, is that everyone in Marvel has, like, everyone has these you know, big powers and everything, but everyone's powers are explained in some way. Like, you know, even Captain America is like, oh, it was done through science or whatever, and same thing with the Hulk. Iron Man just is really smart, so he built this suit. It's, you know, Captain Marvel got her powers from an Infinity Stone. Same thing with Scarlet Witch, and it's like everyone who has these big powers, it usually came from the Infinity Stones. Which, yeah, does it make sense in real life? No, but does it make sense in the Marvel universe where they've kind of set these things up and established, like, in this universe these stones are real and this is what they did? Okay, I can go along with it, but Agnes was just a witch because witches existed. Like, it was never explained why witches had powers, or it's like it was the only thing in the Marvel universe that I can think of anyway, where someone just had an ability but it was not explained. And so like I was like, I don't, if that is true, if she was definitely a witch or whatever, then that doesn't sit with me very well. But like I said, the angle of it being a manifestation of basically of either the Scarlet Witch powers or herself or whatever, I like that storyline much more. I just don't know that it's not the strongest case, I guess, but that's what I thought she was until like the very end, because then they never addressed it or anything, and I was like, well, maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, it's a good theory. I never thought of it that way, but I just took it as face value. I was like, okay, like witches, obviously they cut back to like 1600s, like witches were believed, and you know, they were in the Marvel universe proven to be real, because she had that book. I've read that book. It was called the Book of the Damned or whatever.
Yeah.
So like I just took it as face value. I was like, okay, whatever.
And I think the book of the whatever that is, the book shit, because it shows her with it at the end, is another thing that goes against like my theory on it. Like I said, the ending of the show really shot that theory down quite a bit, but it still just feels, I don't know, it just feels like an almost cheap way to come up with like a villain for the show, in that it's like, oh, by the way, witches have existed this whole time, because she still got her like you can say like, oh, she was a witch, but the Mind Stone amplified her abilities, I guess, but even still, like, that doesn't fully, like, does that mean the witches came from a different Infinity Stone or something, and that's why like they were compatible? I don't know. It's so far out of the
X-Men mutations.
And that's what I was wondering, like, if they're gonna go the mutation route, or if they're gonna go, when they bring in X-Men, if they'll do
no mutants. Scarlet Witch.
If they'll bring a different origin story, because back whenever Endgame came out, I remember I was talking about, I saw someone comment saying that since the Infinity Gauntlet was set off twice on Earth, and like all the stones were there, it's like that maybe that energy being released on the planet would affect people, and that's where they'd start to develop powers. So I was like, that is that's a perfect way into X-Men to me. Like, just do that, and then that way you can, like, you don't have to like add in this additional thing. Well, oh wait, by the way, people are mutants now. It's like, it at least would be tied into the lore that they've already created with the Infinity Stones. But yeah, I guess like I said, that was my theory going through the end of episode 7, where it was Agnes the whole time, and she's like winking at the camera and everything, which was really funny. But my theory from that moment until, like I said, somewhere in like the last episode where she kind of defeats her and it's just not addressed, and then she has the book and stuff. That was my theory. So it's definitely a much weaker theory now with how the show ended, but I guess moving past that, we can actually talk about the post-credit scenes because there was two.
Yeah. I only remember the one. I know there was two, but I don't remember.
The first one was Monica. She was walking, and they said like, "Oh, there's like we have some." She walks into like a movie theater or whatever. She said, "There's like we have someone that wants to talk to you," and she just points up, and I was like, "I'm guessing that's Captain Marvel is who wants to talk to her, but it could be Nick Fury too, because the last time we saw him, he was on that space station with the Kree or whatever they are from
Skrull.
Yeah, the Kree are the bad ones.
Well,
Or no, I think they're both bad in the comics, but in the cinematic universe, they're like the good guys or whatever.
That's also a Captain Marvel thing. I was like, what the fuck is this alien?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, it's Captain Marvel, but it's also a post-credit scene for another movie too. So I mean, you would have to see Captain Marvel to understand who they are and why they're significant, but they show up in a post-credit scene too. So, but yeah, so like last time we saw Nick Fury, he was on like a space station with them. So I was like, I don't know if that means that Nick Fury wants to see her or if it's Captain Marvel, but my inkling is to say Captain Marvel just because I know there's that connection there.
Right, which would be cool. I'm into that. And then the second one,
The big one.
Wanda. I assume somewhere in like Norway or Iceland.
Somewhere great. Looks incredible.
Somewhere, because based on like that, there are carvings in the house, which it could be witch carvings. I don't know. But anyway, it shows like her like drinking coffee outside by this beautiful lake. And the cuts inside the cabin, and the Scarlet Witch version of her just reading the Book of the Damned or whatever it was. And I was
While
like,
hovering. And
yeah, I was like, what just happened? She split herself?
So that's my theory. The best theory I came up with is that I think because when she talks to Monica, she says something like, I don't understand these powers, but I will. And then she kind of pieces out. And I think my theory was, I wonder if that moment was her reading through the book and understanding like what the powers are, and that she was essentially trying to recreate a reality again to better understand what she just did and how it happened. Was my thing, only because there was two of her there. So I think she was like creating a second version of her that has like this happy, like, oh, I'm just living my life in this thing. That was my best guess for why there was two of her there. Because I was like that. I mean, it makes sense that she's trying to understand it, and then she would be building a new reality again. But I'm also wondering if she's going to be messing with realities and stuff like that. That this means we'll have a Doctor Strange Wanda Maximoff face off at some point, because that's pretty much his job, is to protect reality from dimensions and all kinds of craziness that happens outside of our like perceived world. So it's like, I wonder if they'll face off in some way. Be
Well,
kind of
that's
interesting.
what everyone said from the beginning. This was going to bleed into Doctor Strange, which I'm cool with.
Well, Doctor Strange is supposed to be in. Is it the next Spider-Man movie? Maybe.
He's supposed to be or whatever.
There's a movie that's coming up that he's supposed to be in. So, it seems like this is going to be a heavy part of like the storylines going forward. But do you also see, when we were talking about why I said, when you were like, I heard it's like it's supposed to like lead directly into a movie, I was like, I don't know how this couldn't affect several movies. Like, there's a lot that happened in this one. Vision is back. She has crazy new powers. That she created this whole like universe thing that affect other people. Monica got powers out of this. People from Thor and from Ant-Man were in it. I was like, there's a lot of movies that could be impacted from this one series. And in, what is it? I think it's is it next Friday? Yeah, so not this not this week coming up, but the next Friday, the 19th, is Falcon and Winter Soldier. So then that one's starting, and who knows what insanity's gonna be in that one. Now it's not. I don't think it's gonna be as much of a mystery and confusing as WandaVision, but still, it's what are they gonna reveal in that one? What's gonna happen in that one? I think they're gonna be building up to the movies and creating some story to pad out in between the phases here, and I am here for it all the way.
I'm not really excited for that, but I mean, if it's gonna be just as good as this, I'll watch it. I'll watch it probably week to week. I won't wait.
Well, I don't know if it'll be as good just because like the thriller, or not thriller, but like the confusion and sort of like what's happening part of WandaVision was really fueling me like through the first couple episodes, where I was just like, I definitely can't stop watching this because I don't know what's happening, and I'm really curious. Like I was really intrigued by that whole aspect of the show.
Yeah.
And then sort of how it affects the movies going forward is what I really enjoy now. But I feel like the Falcon and Winter, especially since the last time that they were on screen was whenever they got Captain America, or Falcon got Captain America's shield. So it's like there's gonna be it's not gonna be the same, but I just feel like it's gonna impact story the same, and if that makes sense. So I'll definitely be watching it. And plus, I'm not that excited for that, but I was not excited for WandaVision either.
True. And WandaVision was excellent. And I can't believe it was as good as it was. I was very taken back by that, but
I was wondering how you would like it, since you're more of like a casual MCU fan, but I'm happy that you really got into it and were equally as confused as I was and was drawn in.
Yeah, but I think that's gonna.
I do have one last question about it.
Oh, okay.
And then we can wrap it up. Did you? Because I was wondering about this, and Renee was like, "I just don't think it means anything," which is very possible. It doesn't mean anything. It's just this was a weird part to me that never got fully explained, and I got kind of hung up on it a little bit. So it could be nothing. But did you have any thoughts about the beekeeper guy, other than like who the hell is this guy when it happened? Like after that. Because they do show him going in. They show you him climbing through the tunnel and stuff later on.
Like what happened to him?
Just, yeah. Or anything.
I mean, to me, I assumed he got teleported back either to the sword people, or Wanda just kind of like took over his mind and just made him part of the scenery. I didn't really...
The reason why one of my early, like after Pietro showed up, is I thought that was Pietro. I thought he was someone else who snuck in from Sword and was actually there. And that's why on that scene where the Halloween one, why he was acting weird. And that was my initial one. Obviously, it was the Agatha angle to it and everything. But that's what I thought at that point. But then after it was over, I was like, we still never found out like who that guy was or what happened to him. And Renee's like, I don't think it really mattered. And I was like, well, the only reason that I thought that I was confused is that they intentionally like blacked out his face so you couldn't see who it was.
Oh.
So like when they first see him, you can't see his face, and even when they show him climbing through the sewer pipe, you still can't see his face. When he climbs out and stuff, like his face is blacked out. So I was like, it's almost makes you seem like, or makes it feel like that's supposed to be someone of importance. They just don't want you to know who that is yet. And it's like, maybe they just didn't want to, pay someone for an on-screen appearance or something. So they blacked out. I was like, I don't know. But, like, that part, I was like, it just feels like that was supposed to mean something. And then she just says no, and then they rewind to them back in the house. It's like, did he just get kicked out? Because they didn't show him flying out or anything.
Right.
It was just him coming out. She says no, and then that's the last time you ever hear from him. I was like, obviously she shut that whole thing down, then she took off, and it didn't add up to anything. But it was a weird thing that I got really hung up on for a while that I didn't fully understand.
Didn't give it a second thought.
Well, like me with Agatha drinking all the time, I did. You didn't think of it the same way as I did, but I don't know. It just seemed like it was supposed to mean something that you didn't know who he was. It's like, it seems weird that they would intentionally make that choice to hide his identity, and then just to never find out. I mean, not that he could have just been a random guy and it wouldn't matter. But it just seems like when you make the choice to black someone's face out, that means you're trying to conceal who it is for a reason. It's not just like an accident. So, yeah, I got stuck on that a little bit. But, yeah, it's more than likely, yeah, it probably means nothing. It's probably exactly what we saw, and that's it. But, I don't know. I became obsessed with the beekeeper for whatever reason. But, yes, we can wrap this one up and get this uploaded and everything. Because I got lots of work to do now before the end of the night. So, as we always do, we thank you for listening. We thank you for joining us for our first video out in the grapes. Depending on how this one goes, maybe we'll do this again. I'm not going to be putting in as much like extra stuff as I do for RT Talk, especially since we're shooting this at the same time, so I don't have as much time to edit. But
Right.
maybe if this is something that seems kind of easy, then we'll do it that way. I do know that I probably won't be ever using my good camera to record at RT Talk again, because that was a nightmare and it was really frustrating. It shoots great video, but in terms of editing and doing everything, it made everything take so much more time. But thank you for joining us for this one. I hope you watched WandaVision and you enjoyed this, because that was by far the most the thing we talked about the most. So I guess just tune in next Wednesday for Out in the Grapes. Next week, you can subscribe to the podcast on Spotify or iTunes or Stitcher, all the places that podcasts exist. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And then in another week and a half, there'll be an RT Talk up. So that is it. Do you have any last words for us, Doug?
Nope.
Okay. Nope. And goodbye, everybody.
Bye.